So I want to make a video just to give you guys some tips on how to work through some of these deep existential topics that I've been talking about. So I made a video last time about nihilism and also solipsism. So really briefly, real quick, nihilism is the view that life is meaningless. It doesn't have any inherent meaning at all. And then solipsism is the whole view that only the self exists, or that can only be known to exist. So it means that only you exist, or it means that you can only know that you exist and you can't know if anybody else actually exists or isn't just a hallucination of your mind. I have a previous video that goes in more depth about that, the arguments for and against that, but here I'm just going to give you some of my basic tips about how to work through these tough concepts. It can be very tough, it can be very racking of your mind. So first, let's start with nihilism. Nihilism is the view that there's no purpose, life is meaningless, and it typically has a negative attitude towards that. And I think the best thing in my mind, like my best tip that helps me to work through nihilism, is to reframe it. That you might think that life is meaningless inherently and doesn't have purpose, and you know what? I feel like that part of that is true, but you're also missing that meaning and purpose is not something that is inherent in reality, which you are right about that if you are like a nihilist. But I think you're missing that purpose is something that is subjective, that you create, and that you can create that. And life being meaningless is actually a beautiful thing. So I think that's what you're missing with nihilism, is that you're not being a true nihilist if you're being depressed over nihilism, because you're associating a negative meaning towards meaninglessness. Do you see that? Like, you're not truly like adopting your view that everything is meaningless, because you're attaching a negative meaning onto meaninglessness. So therefore you're still having a meaning. So you're not really being a true nihilist. So that's one way of coping with it, is just seeing how you are attaching a negative meaning towards that, and you don't have to. You can do a positive meaning or no meaning at all to it. And if you don't have any meaning, at all to it, then you won't really be thinking about that concept, and it won't even bother you in your lifetime until tragedy happens, which it inevitably will. So it's important to think and prepare your mind for that. That's what the Stoics do, is they want to prepare for tragedy, at least get their mind to be strong enough to handle it when it does come. So another tip to coping with nihilism is you see it as a negative meaning. The other way is that you start to see the positive meaning. So how is meaninglessness positive? Well, you can think about it like this. Life is kind of like a blank slate. It's kind of like the blank canvas, right? Like, think of yourself as an artist. When you're an artist, do you want to start with a canvas that's already painted on? Because that limits what you can paint. That limits what you can do. But if you have a blank canvas, it gives you all the freedom you want to choose whatever you want to go, whatever direction you want to go with that painting. The same with life. That meaninglessness gives you all the freedom to do whatever you want to in life. And that's kind of where free will, free choice comes from, and also where true meaning comes from. True meaning comes from life not being destined for you. True meaning is you being able to freely decide what you want to do with your life. And that free choice, you need to have a blank slate for that. Otherwise, if there's already a purpose already written for you, do you see how that would be even worse, you could call it? Like, do you see how that would be even more limiting than meaninglessness? Meaninglessness is actually, I think that the issue that you might be having with meaninglessness is that it overwhelms you with the freedom and responsibility to create your own meaning and purpose. And that can be very overwhelming, because a lot of people don't know what they want to do in their lives. They're like, what am I supposed to do? I'm on this rock and everything's going to die someday, so what's the point? Well, the point is to play and work with it. Enjoy the mystery. Life is beautiful. Even though that it doesn't last forever, and that you might be like, what's the point? I'm just going to be like Sisyphus. I'm just going to be moving all this effort up this mountain just for it all to come tumbling down again, and there's no point. But it's like, in a way, like, I feel like that you might be limiting yourself on that actually effort is part of what makes life meaningful too, that the most valuable things in life require the most effort, like playing sports, being a master at anything requires some degree of effort. And we associate value with mastery because it's so hard to attain. And you might say, well, oh, like those achievements are meaningless in the end because we all die. Well, true, but you know what? Not everybody gets to have this shot at life. A lot of people, they don't even get the sperm and egg fertilized. You know, there's a lot of consciousnesses that don't ever get fertilized. A lot of beings, and there's a lot of people that die of cancer. There's a lot of people that don't get the shot that you have. And you know what? You just have to make the best with the hand that you're dealt with and take it one step at a time, one day at a time. And, you know, life is, it's beautiful. It's actually a miracle that we're even existing at all, that we can talk and communicate and have language and have these deep thoughts. I think that what's going to help you nihilists work through this is really connecting with the mystery of life, that, you know what, life might seem meaningless to you, but you know what, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's part of the mystery. It's part of the human experience, is creating your own purpose and really, you know, dealing with the mystery that you have. Like, you're not going to know everything, right? There's no way you're going to be able to know certain things in life. So you just have to learn how to embrace that slowly each day. And each time you notice like your mind going into a rut, that's when you know that your view of life is limiting. Every time that you're thinking negatively about something, that's a signal for you that you're not thinking it all the way through, because meaninglessness really is not an issue at all. It's only when you don't have any meaning in your own life, that when you can't get out of bed, when you can't do the things that you need to do, focus on the small achievements each day, that's when you should talk to a therapist and stuff and work through that. Do some existential therapy. That's what I recommend. All right, I'm gonna have to create another video for solipsism, so stay tuned for tips about how to work through solipsism on my next one.